What's up, guys? So I'm gonna start working on the dump trailer that I picked up. I think I picked it up last week. It's a 7x14 PJ dump trailer. It's got a GVW of 15,400 pounds, so plenty heavy duty for whatever I gotta do with it. A couple things that I know that are wrong with it are, cosmetic stuff like the paint, which isn't a huge deal, but the electrical plug, your 7-pin, is all smashed here, and it's also corroded down there, so I want to get that replaced. I ordered a new cable with it. Just got to get around to installing it. When I got it, it had a pintle hitch on it, but the coupler came in the toolbox, so I got that swapped over to your normal coupler. I'm not a big fan of pintle hitches, just my personal preference on that. The other stuff that's wrong is that the hinges for the back door are broken on some of them. Some of them are good, some of them are broken. The doors are in alright shape. You can see that one broken over there. So we're going to start cutting off these hinges. I have new replacement hinges that will weld on, but got to get these off first. I started cutting this one off using one of these Diablo diamond cutting wheels, which is actually the first time I've used them. They actually do pretty good compared to your normal composite style, I guess, cut off wheel. I just don't know if it's going to be the best option to get these cut off, so I'm going to try cutting them off with a Sawzall and see where we get. But we got to cut all 4 of them off, and I did take measurements over here just as a reference so I can get the new ones put back in roughly the same spot that the old ones were. So let's see if we can get them off. So between the combination of the cutoff wheel, the Sawzall, and a good old snap-on air hammer with a chisel on it, we got one off. So quarter of the way there. It's gonna be great. Plus it's raining out. That's 2. 2 more. Too bad it's raining. So we have both sides off. That side's done. This side's done. Now it's time to get the hinges off of the door, or what's left of the hinges. And by the looks of it, somebody should get a grinder for Christmas because they were not a very good welder. All the old hinge hardware is cut off. Now it's time to grind down all the welds of what was left from there before and give us a nice surface that we can weld on the new hinges to. So I got everything ground down pretty nice. Did kill my grinder, so Amazon Prime got me a new one. There is one hole here that the weld pulled the base material through, so before we put the hinge on this one, we'll fill in the hole, grind it down nice and flush, and then weld on top of it. But we did get everything ground down nice and flush. I'm going to hit everything with some weld through primer so that way it doesn't rust over within the next couple days if I don't get to it, and we should be good. The other thing we gotta take care of is replacing the plug end, which this is smashed and that is chafed through down there. I was able to get a replacement cord that also included the junction box. So I'm going to swap everything over, including that box, just because I don't know what it looks like inside there yet, and it was the same price to get a cord with the box as without. So it's what we're going to take care of next, and then hopefully we can get the brakes working. I did notice that they're using Scotch locks as butt connectors on the brakes, which is anything but a good idea. So we'll get some proper connectors on that, and hopefully everything will work when we're done. So this one's actually not too bad inside, and most of that is because it's inside this battery box. But there'll be times you'll open up one of these and you can't tell what is what, and everything's rusty and corroded and really bad. So we'll get it swapped out. This guy here is for your Breakaway brake system. Pretty much it just, when this pulls out, it'll jump full battery voltage to your brakes, so it applies them full. You want to make sure that works after, and then obviously after you're done doing everything, check everything out. because there's an onboard battery on this, technically you still have live voltage in there, so just be cautious when you're disconnecting stuff. You don't want to ground out and short anything. So we got the old one out. We got a couple connections we gotta fix. We'll focus. You can see this one's got some corrosion to it. There's also a jumper that went from the ground inside the box to the mounting hole that the box is mounted to, and that's so that the entire chassis of your trailer gets grounded. So when you're doing lights, the ground can go right to the trailer and you're not running a ground all the way back up front to this connection box or to your battery for that. So we're going to replace any of the ones that are bad. And we got the old one out. Here's the new one. They are labeled what colors go where and what they do. And this one did come with a nice diagram as well. For the most part, the color coding and what their function is pretty standard for a lot of trailers, so you can always go to Google and get information off of that. We're gonna have to take this one apart so that it can be fed through that bottom hole there, and see if I have a grommet I can put there as well so it doesn't chafe through. And then it's gonna have to get flipped 180 because on this side it went in there like that. The ground is towards the right, so I'd rather have to modify this wiring because I have a lot more room to work with than what was fed from the trailer. So I got the cord ran through the hole down there, fed up, reconnected up top, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to reuse the old nuts that was off the other one and use the one nut to hold down the truck side harness and then the other nut to hold down the trailer side harness, and that way all this will stay exactly where it is. And in the future, if I have to, add another power source, if I want to add lights or replace a wire, I don't have to worry about disrupting all this. It'll just be, the trailer side will just be separate, and you're not trying to fight more wires than you have to. I am going to take the extra couple minutes, go through and use a power probe and just make sure that the color coding here is standard and matches what everything else was connected to, because the old harness only had 6 wires going through it, which isn't normally a big deal because they usually leave out the reverse circuit. A lot of plugs don't have the reverse circuit in them, but I want to make sure that everything with the brakes is hooked up in the right spot, because the way it was before, it looked like they had the brakes hooked up to the stop on the other one, which is kind of weird, but we'll figure it out. Round. Green. Yellow. Black. So, surely enough, the how everything is wired does not match how everything is wired with the new plug. So, good thing I checked to see. So, I used the power probe, hooked up, powered everything. It connects to the battery, and then I ran a set of jumper wires from the battery to the frame of the trailer to complete the grounding circuit. So, for the trailer side, brown is the running lights, which is ultimately going to connect to green. Green on the trailer is right turn, which is going to connect to brown. Yellow is left turn on the trailer, which is going to connect to red. And black is the brakes, which is going to connect to blue. So it was worth it to do this, otherwise nothing would have worked the way it should have. We got all new ends put on because I trimmed back and made everything the right length. I'm going to reroute the wires a little bit better. They're kind of stressed the way they were before. And got all the new connectors on. I got a new jumper on. I'm using all these heat shrink crimp connectors. I got this kit off of Amazon. They're great to have around. They make a really nice water watertight seal. And I like to use these automatic wire strippers. These are from Matco, but other companies make them. They adjust automatically to the size of the wire. There's also ones out there that are gauge dependent. Both of them work great because if you have the room for them, they do strip the wire a lot easier, and you're not pulling on the wire to try to get it to break free. Everything pulls through in the mechanism. And these, by far, are the best style crimpers that you can get for doing crimp-on electrical connectors. These are from Snap-on, but Channel Lock does make a pair. You got a nice pair of cutters on the end, and then a crimper for insulated and non-insulated, and they do a great job crimping. They're not made of cheap sheet metal like the other wire stripper crimper combination, so you really get a good bite on your connector, get it crimped good, and you're not going to have an issue with that thing coming apart. So this is what I prefer. These things are great. So we'll get everything wired back up and ran back into this new box. Got the box on and mounted. I have that ground wire tucked underneath the box, and I ground it down first so it has a good ground. I tested the old Breakaway cable and it wasn't any good, so I got to get a new one of those, but I got everything mounted up anyways just so I can test it. So we'll get the truck over here after we get the trailer unloaded and disconnected, but we'll test it out, and hopefully all of the lights work, because it is it's all about the little details. Never gonna see it, but at least I know that wire's not gonna be bouncing around and getting chafed. It takes 3 seconds to do things right. Yeah, a running light that works there. That one's out. That one works. We have most of a running light and brake light, 2 center lights, most of that one. Clearance lights in the back work. Can't see it because of the sun. And these 2 work up here. So all the lights as they should. Probably going to get some new lights ordered up, but for now, at least they work.